So dinner last night was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, but what did you eat last night?
I had pineapple on pizza.
Jesus, man.
I think it belongs on it. Okay,
It does.
it's really
you
good.
have so much acidity and sweetness to the
But
pineapple.
it's so good.
You're
I like it.
ruining the freaking flavor.
I can eat whatever I want. I don't care what goes in my body.
Your blood is too much of pineapple juice and crap that comes out of it.
Guys, we have a guest here.
Welcome back to episode 11 of the Pit Podcast. We are coming to you hard and square with a brand new episode. Nate, welcome back. Jason is out again looking for his backpack. Somebody find his freaking backpack so that he comes back to the show. It's just unbelievable.
I think we have a live footage report coming from him, actually.
Yeah. But we got us another special guest here in the Pit Podcast. We have possibly an up-and-coming, phenomenal new voice of Femme, who she knocks it out of the park at every event that she goes to. Boom! 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 It is Lily Eckman.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yay.
Thank you for somehow agreeing to do this show with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, yeah.
I hope we've made it warm and welcoming. And,
Definitely. Nobody
on
brings
set today.
Nobody brings the boom like Chris.
Perfect.
Yeah,
man.
so
Where do you want to start? Take us back to the beginning.
yeah, who are you?
All the way back
How'd you
to
find us?
student. How did you
God,
first start
high
out
school?
first?
Ew.
High school.
Okay, so
cringes at high
I'm
school.
from the Flint area. I'm currently downriver now, but so I went to Grand Blanc Community Schools, and my dad was actually the lacrosse coach for the boys lacrosse team at the high school, and he had a couple students that did the robotics team. So when I entered like 8th grade, he was like, "You should really consider doing robotics," and I didn't do sports and stuff. I was the unathletic one in my family.
Mhm.
So I was like, yeah, maybe I'll think about it. And then I entered high school in the off season, and I went to my first meeting, and it was at 2337 when I was on the engine nerds. And they handed me a controller and said, okay, you're going to play around with this little Vex robot. And I did. And I went home that night. I'm like, I want to do this.
Mhm.
I did not go back for like 2 months because I couldn't get a ride or something. I don't remember.
Oh, no.
Wow.
And then I called the coaches the night before because my dad was like, do you still want to do this? And I'm like, yeah. And that was like after I'd been to Kettering kickoff and everything, back at Kettering kickoff. This was during Ultimate Ascent. So this was 2013 with the Frisbees and the big pyramid. And I was just like, oh my God, yes, this is so cool. So the night before kickoff of 2014, Ariel says my favorite game. I call on the coaches and I'm like, I need a ride. And there was a huge snowstorm, worse than this one out there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we'll pick you up in the morning. So I'm out like cold on my doorstep that next morning waiting. And one of the coaches, our team mom, her name was Jody, and her daughter, who's a senior, and another student, they're like, they're in this PT Cruiser circling my block, and then they open the door and say, we can't stop.
Yeah.
You need to jump in. So I literally jumped into the car, headed to kickoff, never looked back.
Wow.
That was in 2014.
That's awesome. That's a great start.
What a way to intro to the program.
It's not
That's
jumping on a
cool.
table, but it's jumping into a moving
It's
car.
jumping into, yeah. That's way more impressive then.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You loved it so much you decided to keep going with it,
I did. So,
to volunteer VC and
Mhm.
game announce and all that.
mm-hmm.
So while you were on your old team and stuff, like what was like your role then? What was like your part with the team?
Okay, so which team? So I was on 2 teams in high school.
Oh.
I started my first 2 years on 2337. I did my last 2 years on Team 70, the Moore Martians out of Goodrich High School, which is like in the town right next to it. So when I was on 2337, I was the safety captain. And that was so fun. That's when that was before they took away the safety award, and it was so cool. You got the hard hat pins.
Yeah,
And I
remember that.
loved being the safety captain. I loved being in the pits. Actually, one of my fondest memories that I had talked to my students about, because they still do safety star of the day, and one of my students now got safety star of the day last year at all of her competitions, and I was so proud of her. I got it at Worlds one year. And I was so proud, and it was just a kind of a full circle moment. Also in 2015, because the safety award also used to be an award that you could win in addition to another award, and it was worth 5 district points. So I remember in 2015, we got an engineering award, and we didn't get chairman's, but it was at our home event, and that's really hard to do for teams. And then they start doing the script and stuff. It was one of our alumni that was doing it, and then they're naming off all these things I do, and then they, how they make the little hint that it's this team, they're being nerdy or something. Well, they did it. I don't remember exactly what they said, but then I just yelled out a little scream because I figured it out, and I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And then my team members start shaking me, and they're like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And we won that safety award. And my coach, Clinton, pulled me at the next meeting. He's like, "I don't know what you did, but keep doing it, because we just got the district equivalent points to the chairman's award."
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
When I was on Team 70, the More Martians, I was on drive team, and I was a mechanical lead.
Was there any differences you noticed between the two teams?
I mean, every
Did they
team
operate differently? I've
So-
only been on one team.
Right. One
I
team.
know.
So
I
is he,
I
so-
have a odd alumni history. Both teams call me the hybrid alumni now,
Okay.
which was something I really appreciated, because they still both considered me part of the team, especially because yeah. So sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Was there any differences between the two teams?
Yes,
Did they operate differently?
Mhm.
Oh, definitely. Because I mean, first, robotics teams earn, you have to earn a lot of money, especially at the FRC level, to be able to do it to a certain extent. The
Mhm.
thing about Goodrich is that we didn't have one team, we had 2 teams. We had Team 70 and Team 494, which was the Martians. They got Team 70 afterward. That's why they're the More Martians, even
Mhm.
though they're a lower number. So we didn't just have to do double everything everyone else did. We tripled it, because we had a B-bot. That's what we call it on the Goon Squad. I'm a mentor there now.
Yeah.
And then we had to make 2 competition bots for both teams. So you're essentially doubling all of the costs and stuff. So there was that, but it was really interesting in the fact that everybody works on both teams, and then we just compete separately but not separately. So that in itself was very interesting, very different. But I loved all my mentors on both teams. I loved all my peers on both teams. So in that regard, there was no difference. I had so much fun while I was on both teams, and they're part of my fondest memories in high school.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
Awesome.
So a lot of connections, right? A lot of connections you've got with both teams.
Mhm.
It's like a big family for you, right? You got
Oh yeah,
all
well, you can agree with me. That's first in general, especially as volunteers. You go and you have these big pools of people that you can rely on.
Mhm. Right. So what was your transition from your time as a student with Engine Nerds and More Martians? How did that transition from you being a student to you mentoring with the teams that you've been mentoring with? How was that? What was that transition like for you? Is there a lot of similarities you brought over as a student to the mentor side of things?
Oh, definitely. Especially because I mentored straight out of high school. So
Oh.
my dad, he moved to a town, Fowlerville, Michigan. It's near Howell. And he was like, "I need 2 mentors in order to run a team. Will you be the second mentor?" I was like, "Yes, of course. Let's do it." So I was actually not just a mentor. I was a head mentor straight out of high school, which I do not recommend, because you're 18 and you're so close in age to these other kids that you don't garner not the respect, but in some that attitude that we get now that we're in our mid 20s from these high school students, because all these other 17, 18-year-olds are looking at another 18-year-old that's just nah. So it It was very interesting. I loved mentoring though, and that's why I continued with it. So since high school, I've mentored 4 teams. I've mentored 7056. I was a mentor on 1506 Metal Muscle for a little bit. Then I was a mentor on 469, and now I mentor 3604 the Goon Squad.
Wow, that's a lot of
They got
teams.
4s in them.
Yeah, 4.
I know, right? That's why it must be my lucky number.
Yeah.
So, but I do it because I believe in the mission of first. I believe in the ethos, and I wouldn't mentor and put all this stock into so many kids over since 2017, essentially, which is crazy to think about because it's 2025. I've been mentoring almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And that itself is crazy to me. But I have this saying where we have a little piece of ourselves that we give to each kid that we don't give back, and they take it with them and do whatever they want with it, go into college, like become great human beings. And I love mentoring. I love putting what I have learned into them.
Would you say that's the most important part about being mentoring?
Oh,
being
yeah,
a mentor?
definitely is like being that positive, stable influence in kids' lives, like coaches.
Yeah.
Like, because I know there's the head coaches and then there's the mentors, but every mentor is a coach in some way. And like my mentors had a profound impact on me in high school. And I wouldn't be here today doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for them.
Right,
So.
right. And especially with all the students that you've impacted on their lives, like it's crazy to think about the amount of students that you had that positive outlook from first, then to whatever their future is, whether it be in college, trades, or in anything that they do. Like
Exactly.
it's
starting their own business.
it's starting their own business. Even it's like unbelievable what you've done and the impact that you had on these kids, and it couldn't be more commendable. Like big respects for you for that.
Thanks.
So
I was actually thinking of like talking about this with a friend the other day. They're like, how many students have you mentored? And I'm like, I have no clue. I wish I had that number. I want to start keeping track now.
Yeah.
right. So it's insane.
You
Insane.
decided to take on more roles with volunteering. You just like mentoring wasn't enough. You wanted to come back and volunteer and do even more.
Actually, I was a volunteer before I became a mentor. So my senior year of high school, I went and volunteered at Kettering, and this when like Joel was still in Flint and stuff. Joel Hurd, he's one of the people that trained me, and an alumni named Zach Gore. I don't know if you guys know Zach Gore. So he usually does Kettering. He lives in Georgia now. I don't think he flies back to do states much anymore. He was an alumni of 2337 and was the guy that would like jump over the gate at the end when he's like going through and
did he have short hair and like sunglasses?
No,
okay.
I don't
think
know.
of somebody else.
He hasn't changed in like the 10 years that I've known him. So this is also a funny story. I filled in for Zach during one of the matches because I was like, hey, I'm here. Can I have some fun? Can I like do the microphone? They're like, sure. And I was just like messing around, talking teams, like introducing them, especially because I was a student. I knew everything about these teams there.
Yep.
And then Zach came up to me later, this 18-year-old girl still in high school. And he's like, so I got to go work out. Do you want to do the rest of the day for me? There are only like 10 matches left to introduce the teams. And I'm like, me? And he's like, yeah. No, it's no worry if you can't, we'll find somebody else. I'm like, no, I'll do it. And Joel's like, you should do it. And I never looked back. That was my first competition announcing was Kettering 2 in 2017.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. You haven't looked back, and now we almost see you every other event every year, game announcing, emceeing, and all that.
Have you ever got to do an event with Zach?
No, not
like
since
game
then.
Out, not since then.
Nope,
Bummer.
but I've done stuff with Joel. I actually a little full circle moment. The first time I did states, Joel and Chuck were my other announcers on the field, and that was one of Joel's last competitions in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
I think. Do not quote me on this. I might be at Wayne State. It depends because I just got a job. I think Joel's going to be at Wayne State. So I think he's starting to
Really?
announce again because he moved back to Michigan.
Okay.
Oh, he did. Oh,
Sweet.
wow. Okay.
Here to hear you first, maybe.
But
I'll
don't
confirm
quote me on
rumors.
it.
Yeah.
I confirm rumors. Do you have any favorite game announcers or MCs you've worked with?
I've worked with so many.
Yeah, we've had so many good ones in Michigan.
Yeah.
I
And
think we're pretty
no
blessed.
matter
Yeah.
who I say, I am going to get a text that says, "I thought I was your favorite." So I love working with Sydney Grew. Our first competition together was, oh my God, Shepherd. Do you guys remember the Shepherd event? It used to be a thing. And that was the first time I did a competition with another girl, actually. And then we would end up going to do Goonettes every year together. So there's Sydney. I love working with Tom. Tom is also one of the ones that trained me. And I just you can't go wrong working with Tom Nader.
No,
he's so nice. He's such a down to earth person. I'm just gonna list everybody. I love working with Chuck, Austin Schmitz. I trained. I love working with Austin.
You trained Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
At
can't shut up
Kettering.
about Austin.
And then
Austin,
he ended up being
yeah.
put on my field last year because they texted me, the volunteer coordinators texted me. They're like, Austin's has experience. I'm like, yes, put him on my field.
Yeah.
And oh my God. And he's just like flourishing out of his shell. And I just
Cool.
love it. I just
Yeah.
love to see that. I'm working with George a lot this year. Love George. I'm just gonna list everybody. Brian, like, who are your guys' favorite announcers?
I mean, Chuck is up there.
yeah.
Chuck, he's a goodie.
Yeah.
He's got a little flair to him when he announces.
I think the only two that you haven't mentioned that I would have mentioned would be Tristan and Dunkley.
I love
Tristan
working with
Dinklage.
Tristan and
Yeah.
Matt. I'm so sorry,
Tristan.
guys. They're gonna text me and be
Yeah.
like, we do so much together. I love working with Tristan and Matt, actually. See,
Yeah,
but that's
Tristan's
the thing.
really
I just
good at
want to
it.
name everybody because like there is not an announcer that I haven't
Yeah,
loved working
yeah.
with.
We don't have a bad one in
Yeah,
Michigan.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody's
Exactly.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're blessed in FIM. We really are
Yeah.
blessed.
Blessed and Finn, put
yeah.
on a shirt.
Do you have any? So you mentioned you trained Austin. Do you have any tips that you would want to give new game announcers? That you gave
So
him?
a lot of the tips that I was given. So have either of you worked on like AV and stuff at a
Not at all.
competition?
No, this is the
So-
closest I've come to touching a microphone.
So, what I got told in the very beginning was like you have to keep like a very straight tone. You want to keep it low and like neutral, especially for women, because like a lot of our tones go up a little bit higher.
Mhm,
So, and then Rob Jenkins, he used to be an FTA in Michigan. He came up to me at like my first full time like doing a competition. It was Kettering Kickoff 2017, the off season. Came up to me. He's like, I really like your announcing because we do not have to mess with your microphone a lot. So for me, it started there and then it moved into the content. Also, real quick, one of my favorite announcers to work with was Nick Clark. Grew up with him. One of my best friends, like, because we were on 2337 together. He left for a little bit. Now he's been coming back. I really want to work with him again.
Cool.
Nick.
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 But I bring up Nick because then it turned Nick is one of the ones that started teaching me about like the content that you have to say. Cause I started out mainly as a game announcer and did game announcing for so long before I really got more into like the emceeing aspect of announcing. So like when you're doing announcing and you gotta watch what you say. And like sometimes no matter what you say, somebody will find a way to spin it. It's happened to me. It actually happened to me like a couple years ago where I said something that like Joel and Chuck were saying at States and I repeated it and they were like, oh, a girl said this. And like, it meant like nothing bad, but they were just like making fun the way I said it. So sometimes like depending on things, you have to watch what you're saying. But after a while, it becomes really natural for a game announcer. Week 1 is always the hardest because like you're in a new game, like all the rules, like you got to make sure that you're like know the rules essentially when you're game announcing. You got to work with your FTA. That's another thing. Biggest tip. You have to work really well with your FTA and your head ref, even if you're in an MC, game announcer, whatever. Like they run the show. You are their voice. Like when you're reading off the cards, if we're delaying. So actually one of my favorite head refs to work with, Brian Moorhead.
Bimo.
So a couple years ago, do you remember in week 1 when like 3 out of the 5 FIM events in Michigan had to get delayed because of weather. So me and Brian, the next day, we were like, okay, we're going to do 6-minute cycles. And Brian's like, you need to help me with this. And he brought me a little coffee. He's like, we're going to get through this day. And we did. We were pulling out like below 6-minute cycles. It was amazing. Wow. So you like working with your key volunteers is like essential. Because everybody, like, again, everybody thinks it's about what you're saying and stuff. There's so much behind the scenes that you have to do as well.
Right.
It must be really exhausting, too, because you're meant to be, like, the person to hype everybody up. Everybody in the room, you have to hype them up and keep them going.
Your voice is always up. You always got to be talking.
You're an entertainer when you're an announcer,
right.
too, which entertaining does not come naturally to me, especially in the beginning when I was, like, I bloomed in high school. I used to be such a quiet kid, but even going into college, I was still so reserved. So like a lot of times in the beginning, I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I becoming an announcer? But then I was just like, I love to do it. And at the time I was like, I want to see so much more representation in the volunteer pool, for like diversity and stuff. So there was that, but yeah, you got to learn how to entertain. So I actually have a trick. Do you guys want to know what one of my things that I love to do is?
Yeah,
and I'll provide a story with it too.
Cool.
So this is something that Joel taught me. So imagine you're a student, you're in the stands or you're on the drive team and it's best 2 out of 3 in finals and it's a close match and we're about to decide who the game winner is. You turn off the music. And you make everybody go quiet. And then you say something into the microphone like, this is it. Whoever wins this match will be our Kettering District 2 championship for 2025. And then they play the animation and everybody just goes up in an uproar no matter what team they're on.
Yep.
Essentially. Like, and they just get so excited. The kids are like crying, and even some of the adults are just like, oh my God, we won, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you got to learn how to entertain, but it's like the fun stuff like that when you learn it, you can really make like such an impactful memory on these kids and other adults. And like, it's those memories that I live for.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for you then what would be like your like most memorable moment of all time as a game announcer / MC, or even like the funniest moment?
That's a loaded question, Chris.
Bowie.
So that example I just did, I was thrown in as an announcer. They needed help at an event, which I often do. If I'm there, I will always tell the volunteer coordinators and the event coordinators, I'm like, if you need help, I will help. Like, cause like I mentor, yes, but also just like, I care about events running smoothly. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm a volunteer first and a mentor second, especially because like when we're mentoring, like there's the whole build season and stuff. And then when you're at competitions, it's a little bit different because you really like, you guys can agree with me on this. If an event's not running smoothly, it affects everything.
Oh, yeah.
It affects like volunteers' experience and it affects students' experiences. And these kids are still in school and stuff. And often volunteers are too. So they don't want to go home exhausted after a late night because we had like a 5-hour delay because of field difficulties or just not being fast enough, whatever. So I'll usually go in and help. So that example I just gave about like hyping up the crowd, like cutting the music, I did that at a competition a couple years ago. I haven't really done it since because the opportunity hasn't provided itself yet. Because you like something like the opportunity has to provide itself in order for it to be like massively entertaining.
Yeah.
And there was a team, they did not, I honestly, because I'm a game announcer, I know the rules. And after a while, like refs can agree, you just follow like the points in your head after a while. So I was just like helping out and somebody was like, oh, do you want to announce this one? I'm like, yeah, I'll probably be my last one. And then like, you guys can finish out the event. Then all of a sudden, like everybody starts going around the AV table, the ref table, and they're like, I'm like, what's going on? And then like everybody usually goes to help like shield it, as you know, because like people will get peeky and intrigued. Yeah, you do have to keep it private. So I go up to the head ref. It was Alan. Love Alan Bennett, one of the best head refs I've worked with. So, and I'm like, what's going on? And there was an example of this is the only time I've seen it. I still don't completely understand it, but there was a team that ran in their autonomous code the whole time, but also
Really?
not. So they had to rescore the match.
Huh.
And this
Oh.
team that like the other alliance, they didn't think that they were going on, but they all still would have made it to states because district points and stuff. They were already getting their awards.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, okay, yeah, this was a good season. This and like one of the teams on this alliance, like actually two of the teams on the alliance, this was like kind of like their comeback. Like they were rebuilding up their program and stuff. They're like, we had such a good competition. Like they were being very gracious professionalism about it. And so Alan comes up to me. He's like, I need you to be very clear about what's about to happen because there are people that are going to be mad. Like, because we had to rescore the match and it ended up going in that other team's favor. And then they like, when you make it to the finals, you're automatically finalists. I've never seen an alliance so shocked and just like crying. And cause they're like, oh my God, how did this happen?
right.
And so that was really interesting to see and announce, especially because as I was announcing it and as people were putting it together in their heads, there was like the, what? And I just like, as an announcer, sometimes you have to be like, nope, you guys have to be quiet because I have to say it. Like you have to say things very clearly into a microphone over a live stream. HQ monitors all the streams, I'm pretty sure. So there's those interesting moments. A funny moment though, used to be when people used to get on each other's shoulders and go around the field and announce it.
I remember seeing some of those. Those are
Yeah.
great.
I haven't seen those in a hot minute, but
Yeah.
I can't
Maybe we
really.
should do it at our events.
Oh my God, just ref on each other's shoulders.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Can we do it at Goonettes?
Yeah. Well, it's off season, so.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, wow.
Less rules, no rules.
Yeah.
Do you have any special plans for Goonettes? You're the co-volunteer coordinator or
I'm
full
the volunteer coordinator.
The volunteer coordinator for Goonettes.
coordinator.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
For the past
Goonettes.
2 years?
Well, last year was my first official year. The year before, I was like shadowing and stuff, and they were like, "Do you want to do this?" I'm like, because our event coordinator was like, "I can't do both anymore," and I'm like, "Oh, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And actually, because I did Goonettes, I'm actually going to be a volunteer coordinator for the Livonia district this year.
Whoa.
So,
Wow.
so I'm very excited about that. But for Goonettes, we haven't decided on a date yet. So how some of the off-season competitions work, I think you guys are getting a real insight about like the meticulous planning and stuff of the off season because FIM particularly works very hard to make sure we have to make sure that like not many events are overlapping. So it's fair. We also do like you have to do specific trainings at off season events in order to become like a key volunteer that next season. Like you have to FTAA at an event in the off season in order to become eligible to be an FTAA in season.
Okay.
Same goes for field supervisors and a couple other roles, I think.
Okay.
We don't know yet if we are going to be a 2-day event or a 2 1-day event. We are still deciding, but we are taking in all of the volunteer and team feedbacks. We don't have much detail yet. We will have a plan by week 1 because we start advertising Goonettes to teams during the
Immediately.
season
Yeah.
because that's when we get the most exposure. Fun fact though, we learned this week. We're an international competition now. We're actually the largest all girls off-season competition in the world, as reported by other places, not just me. Fun reported on it, but statistically we are. We had our website looked at from like 66 different countries.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah, the Goonettes
Wow.
website. We found that out this week. We've been getting reached out to by like not just Canadian teams internationally, but like other teams around the world too that are interested and would love to come to the event. So I'm really interested to see who applies because it's an invitational.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will honestly probably influence what we're going to do. But we don't know yet, but we want to make sure that our volunteers especially also have a good time.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially for me as a volunteer coordinator.
I think the 2 1-day events,
it was
drain
different
me.
and it was hard.
it drains the volunteers a lot more than just 1 2-day event.
Yes.
There's continuity between 1 2-day event.
Yes, and that's something we kept note of. But on the opposite side, it allows that much more room for teams to participate, which is
sure.
like you have your pros and your cons, but we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool.
Right.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Did you guys have fun at Goonettes?
We did.
We
yeah.
did,
That's
yeah.
where Pit Podcast started. It was 'cause of you
Unironically, yeah,
guys.
because of
Was it really?
Yeah, that's where we first did
so,
it.
So the quick story
This is a Pit Podcast exclusive news to me. I'm gonna tell my team that my kids are gonna be so excited.
Oh yeah. Do they watch it?
Huh?
Do they watch this?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, they love it. A lot of them want to go and volunteer, which they watch fun. They watch RoboZone. Hi, Dad. I used to be on Fun too, but like they're really into these type of things like this. Like, I mean, we were students. Like, do you guys remember when RoboZone launched when we were kids?
Yeah,
we
when
thought
it first came
on
out.
state
It was on
champs.
TV.
I remember.
Yeah.
And they would collect the shirts to put in the background, and then that's how my dad started running the podcast. They were like, "We're looking for a podcast guy," and like that was like some of the coolest stuff ever for us. It's that for them as much as it's being broadcast now. I don't know if you know this, but First Robotics was included in like an NBC show called Blackish. There was an episode where their kid was doing First Robotics in it. And like that kind of exposure now is way different than when we were kids. So they're like, they love it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Blackish. How was that show? I have no idea.
It was good.
It
It
was
was a
good.
good cast. Yeah, I really liked it.
Wow.
But yeah, long story short, we were refs at Goonettes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told to go to the pits and make sure the teams are moving their way towards the field for playoffs for, I think it was the first day. We did it both days,
both
for the
days,
first days. So we made our way down to the pits, and we had like 15-minute break between the rounds, right? So we had time to kill. We checked in on all the teams, making sure they were good and stuff. And the pit admin left the mic on the table. So we kind of just grabbed it and we just started talking to it for like a couple minutes here. We started talking about football and food and
Cedar Point.
Yeah. And everybody in the pits, they enjoyed it and stuff. We were
I'm so sad I wasn't there because I got sick. I would have loved to hear this.
Yeah. It was
fun. Yeah, we had
probably would have came up to me and been like, "Take the microphone away."
Probably.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. Yeah, we called it Pit Podcast and started in the pits. Yeah. And then we did it at
cry. This is amazing. This is a full circle moment for me.
Yeah. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
Well, you guys will have to come back next year and like promote Pit Podcast or something.
Can we have a live like broadcast
like a little table or something?
We have the hands-on hallway, which I don't know if you guys want me to mention.
Yeah, of course. Sure. Go for it.
So the hands-on hallway is one of the only like exclusive parts of an off-season competition that we host at the Goonettes Invitational. It's where university organizations, universities itself, and other companies like Bosch, Altair, University of Michigan, Kettering, CMU, I think Michigan Tech came down one year. And then Grand Valley came last year. I don't know if you guys remember, got the opportunity to go through them, but then Stellantis or Ford or GM, one of the three, they brought the Robo Dog and like so we offer the hands-on hallway because we started Focus as an all-girls event where all the girls are on the pit crew and drive team. Now we like it's more of just like a general diversity event, which I still love because we have a lot of the boy participants still participating in roles that like maybe they wouldn't be experiencing if they were like not in their typical roles, like being on the support of like the spirit captains and cheering. And some of those boys, like, oh my God, are the epitome of spirit. They will wear the pink shirts, wear the pink tutus, High Bedford, and they just all love it, and they just get so much into it. And it's just it changed from being this thing about all girls to just like being in different roles in general and how we focus still on the girls though. But the hands-on hallway itself, it started as a way to provide more opportunity to those girls going to the competitions, to talk to universities about STEM initiatives, about diversity initiatives, and to get to play with cool technology. So do you guys remember the tadpole robot from Digital Dislocators?
Yep.
I went up to our event coordinator and I was like, have we ever had first teams at the hands-on hallway before? And he was like, we've had FTC teams, FLL teams. I'm like, Digital Dislocators come to our event. we should ask them if they want to be in the hands-on hallway, because this I don't know if you guys remember the tadpole robot just being shot across the field and it got hit one time. But like, it was so cool to see at off-season competitions. I'm like, kids would love to see this.
Yeah.
So they end up being in our hands-on hallway. So we invite everybody. So maybe next year.
So we're gonna be just be amongst universities and companies, and just us,
Just us.
just us talking.
I mean, RoboZone comes, fun comes, and they all cover the event. Why not you guys? We'll talk about it.
We'll probably do better than them. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Do
We're
you
all friends.
think with Goonettes and Bloomfield All Girls and Rainbow Rumble that those events and have made more of a difference for women in the volunteering role and as students and in
Yes.
first
And I will
overall?
say not just women, but like all students in general. So I can speak for Goonettes. Although I volunteered at Rainbow Rumble is such an amazing event. I love their mission. And they also provide opportunity to those who feel like that they can't get opportunity elsewhere. So at Goonettes, we hit a record last competition where we had females in every key volunteer role represented. So, and we didn't have that before. And it's not because women don't want to. It's just women in STEM is still kind of a minority.
Underrepresented,
It's
right?
very underrepresented. Not very, but yeah. So
No, they're going up.
Yeah,
yeah,
right,
no,
right.
they are
Everyone's
going up.
going
So
up, right,
compared to when
yeah.
I was in high school, I
Yeah.
was one of 4 girls on my team my first 2 years,
Yep.
and then when I went to my other team, there was more because we had the ability to like hold that more. Now I am a mentor on a team that is 1/3 girls,
Awesome.
and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And like, and all my male students though, they also support like the Women in STEM initiative and diversity in STEM initiatives that we try to cultivate through the Goon Squad. So we definitely like, it's especially now that I'm a volunteer coordinator, I'm not so much an announcer for Goonettes anymore. I really, really, really try to push like getting more diversity in every key volunteer role and every role in general, because I think it's important. I remember being a student and I'm like, there's not so many women down there volunteering. And that's part of the reason why I kept volunteering and why I stayed volunteering was I didn't want those girls up in the stands to be like, well, I'm not going to volunteer because there's not many women down there. Because first pushes, like volunteering after high school, going to mentoring or volunteering for competitions. And I do too. You guys can agree. I wouldn't have met you guys if it wasn't for volunteering. It's such a great community and
Yep.
such like an important like mesh that you can become a part of and like have that constant support system. So I definitely push more diversity in key volunteer roles at Goonettes, and we're hitting numbers. I think it'll just keep going up from there. Not only that, we offer training though to like people, like to everybody that wants to like get trained in a role. We will say, come to Goonettes, we will train you. Like whether it's role like refs, FTAAs, announcers, pit admin. Like if you want to come and do it and you want to learn, come to Goonettes, we will teach you.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal especially for those students that want to get their hands on just volunteering. Your platform and with Goonettes, that avenue for them to get trained it's couldn't be as more easy and more accepting and more available for all those students to be able to get into. So that's it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So and speaking of like lasting futures and hands-on experience, like at least for yourself, how has like FIRST itself, like how's that impacted your future, like as like as for your job, as to like as a human being even? It's like, how did FIRST like mold you?
Gracious professionalism is the first thing that comes to mind as something that I teach other people about when they ask me, well, what did it do for you? Like, because I used to have a lot of coworkers at my old job that were like, oh, I have a kid that like I'm trying to keep in robotics and I'm trying to give like the winner's case of like, this is why you should do it. And I kind of just say like, if it wasn't for gracious professionalism and learning about like the spirit of co-opetition, and also like what my mentors did for me in terms of like molding me in the way that they did and changed my life. Like it starts there. But yeah. So sorry, I'm thinking about all this all at the same time. I always tell my kids, I'm like, go join an alumni group, go volunteer, go do something, because you will not stop reaping the awards of FIRST Robotics and being an alumni. So a bit about my journey. I started off at U of M Flint after high school and as a mechanical engineering student, because I did mechanical engineering on 70. And then I got into my classes. I was doing well, but I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. And like in high school, they often push like, you should know what you want to do straight out of high school. You don't have to. It's okay to change your major. It's okay to do whatever you want. Just like have a plan, whatever. So I was being introduced to volunteering, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to community college for a bit because I don't know what I want to do, and it's cheaper and you get your core classes out of the way.
Right.
So I did that, and then around the time I was getting ready to transfer back to university, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go into computer science, because computer science is so broad that you can still do a lot with it. And I was still like, okay, I know I want to do engineering. Let's do this. So I was a mentor. I was still mentoring, and I applied as a transfer student to Kettering University. Go Kettering. Go Bulldogs.
Sorry,
I
Ian.
got I got a merit scholarship, and I got a FIRST Robotics scholarship because I was a mentor.
Nice.
And I was like, I didn't know they did that. They're like, yeah. So that's how I became involved with 1506. They're like one of the Kettering teams. They're the Kettering team. So I was like, oh my God, yay. Unfortunately, a little thing called the pandemic happened. And about Kettering, they have the co-op, and love Kettering. Kettering's a little expensive for me in my financial situation at the time. So they were like, well, we're going to push back your start date. We're going to push back your start date because you need a co-op to pay for the rest of school. And then it got to a point where I was like, I can't wait anymore.
Yeah.
I have to go to school. So I went to Oakland. I got an internship because I didn't go to Kettering. And then I graduated this past April. And I had so many, 2024 job market wise was not great. But every interview I had, they were like, we love FIRST Robotics. We have alumni here. Several alumni interviewed me. But it wasn't until my most recent one where I now work. I work at a company called Torque Robotics. They're moving into Ann Arbor. They love FIRST. I had 2 interviews with them. Each were 4 hours long with 4 different people.
Oh my
Between
God.
the two, they're mass hiring for Ann Arbor right now. So I had 2 interviews for 2 different roles. Over half of them, so at like over half of 8 people were FIRST Robotics alumni.
Yeah.
And they were like, we love what you do. We love that you're in FIRST, that you like it was such important for them, not just because like of the STEM background, but because of the values that FIRST teaches. It really aligns with Torque's mission. So
Wow.
I always tell my kids, I'm like, stay in it. I'm still reaping the benefits from it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
100%.
And that's the advice that, even on the studio here, that we can, all you listeners out there, if you're still in FIRST or you're thinking about getting back into FIRST, you can still get all of the goodies by doing in FIRST, right? So
The goodies.
yeah, so keep doing it. So all right.
Well, it's been great having you.
Thank you. It's been
You're
great
awesome.
being here.
Yes, please. We would love to have you again. I'm sure we have
Yeah.
plenty more to talk about.
Yes.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
But please leave a like, comment, subscribe to Pit Podcast on YouTube. Look out for us on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitch. If you have any questions for Lily or you want to be a guest on the Pit Podcast, fill out the 2 forms in the description.
Sign up to be on here. We also have got merch now live. We've actually have merch freaking live for the Pit Podcast. It's actually right here, right here.
Yeah, that's in the description too.
In the description, go buy our merch. Right, you can show it off at all your events and pop off with your logo of the Pit Podcast.
Yeah, maybe we'll sign it. Maybe we'll sign a couple.
We'll sign it. We will sign it. We'll sign it all, and yeah, let's go make some money.
Oh yeah,
let's make some money.
Good luck, and we'll see you at the competitions.